circumcised, he is to not become uncircumcised. Has anyone been called an uncircumcision? He is not to become circumcised. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but what matters is keeping the commandments of God. Each man must remain in that condition in which he was called. Now, I find this significant because one of the big things that Paul has addressed. In fact, when we went through the book of Galatians, what is Galatians largely about? People will oftentimes say that it has to do with the Torah and grace and those types of things. But if you recall, and tracking with me as we went through Galatians last year, what was my contention that one of the major issues are there? It had to do with this issue of status and people's relationship to the Torah based upon whether they had taken a legal halakhic conversion to Judaism or whether they were in their Gentile status. And that was causing some rift. There were some that were saying that if you're going to become if you're going to be a true follower of Yeshua, you need to become Jewish. You've got to convert to Judaism. And by the way, that is spelled out on the lines of circumcision and going to Jerusalem, taking a sacrifice and doing all these things. And that was becoming a major point of contention within the congregation there over this issue of status. There were many Jewish men who would go through this process of trying to reverse their circumcision so that they could compete in the Olympic Games. They wanted to have status in Greco culture and Greek culture so that they would try to actually change their status within their relationship to Judaism so that they could participate in the larger Greco culture around them. These are the types of things that are going, and Paul's actually alluding to this. And so I want to say that my title today for my message is Satisfied. Satisfied. Are you satisfied in your status of where you stand? And I think this is important. A couple of things I'm going to pull out as we go forward, but I do want to continue to go through the text. But I just, as we begin this, because I can speak to some of this issue, I'll never forget when I was in seminary. This is about 10 years ago, maybe. I'm 46 now. I'd say maybe it might have been about 12 years ago. I remember going to sometimes on a Sunday morning, and I have free time, right? And I'll go do my morning run, and then sometimes I like to go to a various church service around it. I try to make sure it's a good one that preaches the Word of God, and certainly maybe have differences on certain issues. But I like to go get edified there sometimes. And there's a little small one next to the apartment that I was living in, and I'll never forget going to that service, and I remember, and this is, again, I'm in my early 30s at this point, and I remember seeing this pastor, and I remember seeing his beautiful wife and his kids, and he had this church, and I'm just thinking, man, goodness, I wish I was I wish I had what he had. He's got this beautiful wife, he's got these kids, he's got this wonderful ministry. And, it's kind of cool because when he opens up the sermon and he starts preaching and he starts talking for illustration, kind of like I do, I guess, sometimes. And he says, folks, I got to tell you, life is really busy. It's really crazy. And my house can be a little bit hectic. And he says, there's just some mornings that I wish that I could wake up to the smell of my coffee, go and get my morning cup of Joe, sit down on the side of my bed, read my Bible, and just have some quiet and not be interfered with at all, and there to be no sound throughout the house. And as he said that, I said, that sounds like me. So let me get this straight. I want to be him, and he wants to be me. Now, what's wrong with this picture?